Good morning, guys. Hope you're all doing well today. Day 11 until I am a YouTube millionaire. And what's on my mind this morning is how desperately this world in which we currently live needs strong men. Both physically, mentally, and spiritually. How foolish we are so often to think that we know better than 6,000 to 10,000 years of human civilization and all the wisdom that our ancestors have garnered over that time. To say that at the age of 22, 25, what have you, that we know better than they do. What has allowed them to survive as long as they have? Somehow, they did it wrong. And we have something new. It's the same hubris and egotism that comes from those who believe that communism just has never been done right. And that's why it's never worked. But we just got to try one more time to get it to happen, to get it to work right. No. It's not the way humans are. We're not collectivists. We're not a hive mind. We're individuals. And in that, the world has a dearth of strong men right now and desperately needs strong men. Now, this doesn't mean we don't develop advancements and stuff like that. We don't simply strictly stick with tradition. Of course not. That is misalignment, misunderstanding of what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is those things that are foundational truths that have worked and there's no reason to disturb them, why do so? The reason one would do so is because one lives in relative comfort of the modern era and thinks that there's space for it. Not really. The de facto state of human beings, of human civilization, has been war, famine, poverty, desolation, struggle. That has been the de facto state. It is only in the last 100 to 200 years that we've had any reprieve from this. And because we don't live very long, we think that's all there's ever been. Kind of like the mouse utopia experiment, which I made a video on a while back. We think that's all there's ever been. And we think there's space to manipulate the variables when we finally got something that's at least a little bit working. No. 10,000 years. The natural state has been struggle. And here we are now. Plenty of food, plenty of comfort, clean water, excellent shelter. So much abundance that we can even have pets, like that little doggo you see in my background. Feed them better than some of the kings ate in the Middle Ages, and I am not exaggerating. This is an anomaly in human history. And what got us here, among other things, but I would say probably one of the principal factors, if not the principal factor, was strong men. Men willing to do violence on our behalf to protect that light. Just as Maximus Decimus Meridius said in the first Gladiator movie, I've seen the world. It is cold and dark. Rome is the light. and he was trying to keep it alive. It's the same here in the United States. We are not a hive mind. We are not designed to be that. We are individuals. Individuals who, in our social nature, have a certain susceptibility to suggestion, which means we can be brainwashed. All right? That does not mean that we are a hive mind. We're not. We just want to please one another. And our default, at least on some level, in our local communities, in our personal relationships, if those personal relationships have any validity whatsoever, which they should, through social proof and whatnot, our default there is trust, and it has to be. Otherwise, you have only chaos. But when it comes to a more global institution, like, say, federal governments and stuff like that, then you must default distrust unless you are given a reason to default trust and verify. This is where we are. So, it only makes sense that nefarious actors behind the scenes, therefore, would want to weaken men as much as possible. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we are strong. I wouldn't say by any means necessary, but by most means necessary. Sometimes you got to take extreme measures. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And in that same light, we also need to have lots of kids. Strong men need to have lots of kids. This is not a negotiable thing. Unless you purely want to live for yourself, leave nothing behind for future generations when we literally have 20 years on average of memory, that's it. That's all we got. Unless that's the case, where you only want to live for yourself, you need to have kids. And a lot of them. A lot of them. Get stronger. Put yourself together. We do not know better than the 6,000 to 10,000 years of human civilization that came before us, that led to us, or the 4.5 billion years of evolution that got us to be who and what we are. And we do not have the right to throw away all of that 4.5 billion years just because we want to have a little bit of nihilistic fun in one generation. Think how ridiculous that is. You were only here because your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents and et cetera, had kids. You wouldn't exist if they didn't. Duh. Life is worth living. And it will continue to be so, and it will get better if you listen to the history that came before you. You listen to your ancestors. You listen to the past. So, while I might be Sisyphus, constantly pushing a boulder up the hill just to be knocked back down on my ass, for any number of reasons, I can't say why, I don't know, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop pushing the boulder up the hill. Because there are other people that are relying on me, whether I know it or not, to keep going. Whether I'm successful or not, to keep going. To show that it is worthwhile. That you can continue even if there is no surefire reward on the end of it. Just by hope alone, by belief alone. Belief in humanity, belief in yourself, belief in God, belief in the inherent goodness of being alive, it is good. God said, "Let there be light." And he said it was good. We're where the rubber hits the road, guys. And that's what that means. All right, that's all I got for today. Love y'all. Peace.